Tim, the Minnesota Firefighter, previously diagnosed with the arm form of melanoma cancer. This month will mark 3 years since the infamous appointment with my primary doctor for what I thought was a hemorrhoid. Over the 2 years of 2019 and 2020, I underwent monthly infusions with immunotherapy drugs to treat anal rectal mucosal melanoma. Historically, melanoma is an aggressive form of cancer that's difficult to treat. Traditional chemotherapy and radiation might slow the progression of melanoma, but they weren't very effective. In many ways, unless found early and surgically removed, melanoma would metastasize into a killer. Prior to 2015, the 5-year life expectancy for advanced melanoma was 0. In other words, your chance of survival was very slim if it spread away from the point of origin. Make no mistake about it, nivolumab and ipilimumab are in no uncertain terms game changers in the treatment of melanoma. These relatively new immunotherapy drugs unlocked a path to successful treatment. In my case, I received immunotherapy treatment for just over 2 years, starting with 4 rounds of dual immunotherapy infusions beginning in December 2018 using ipilimumab and nivolumab. In the spring of 2018, I transitioned to single immunotherapy infusions of nivolumab alone until December of 2020. The first year of treatment went remarkably well, as my primary tumor shrank and seemed to disappear. It felt crazy to have an aggressive form of cancer, receive treatment, and not miss time from work. It's true that I had quarterly visits to the Mayo Clinic, but I was able to schedule most of those days using vacation time. I jokingly refer to those visits as a trip to the spa with a set of glamour shots. Overall, I felt great during the first year of treatment. Cancer almost always causes fatigue, and that was true for me. Researching cancer fatigue, I learned that the answer to fatigue is often a return to active exercise. For me, that meant cardio work and lifting weights. By the end of the first year of treatment, I felt stronger than I had in several decades. It was mind-boggling because it just didn't seem to be what one would expect from a cancer patient going through active treatment. Early into the second year of treatment, the coronavirus pandemic arrived in Minnesota. My health club closed due to COVID-19 restrictions, so I tried to find ways to exercise at home. It was different than going to the health club, and I started to experience mild shoulder pain. As spring gave way to summer, the pain increased and worsened over time. By the end of 2020, I stopped lifting weights because of my shoulder pain. I didn't want to give up on exercise altogether, so I bought a spinning bike to do cardio work. It was a good purchase because I didn't have to depend on the availability of a health club and could start my day in the comfort of my own home. Even though I quit lifting weights, my shoulder pain didn't improve. I started to experience increasing shoulder pain even when I wasn't doing anything to trigger it. It hurt to sit in a chair at work, it hurt to sit in my recliner at home, and it hurt while I was trying to sleep at night. I was definitely interested in finding the cause of my pain, so I scheduled a visit with an orthopedic surgeon. I had multiple x-rays taken for each of my shoulders, then went for the orthopedic visit. The doctor did a basic workup and then reviewed the x-rays with me. I learned my shoulders are basically stable with no obvious injury, but I do have early osteoarthritis. So once again, I found myself diving into research and started a process of connecting dots in reverse. In other words, sometimes things are much clearer with 20/20 hindsight. My shoulder pain continued, and I was aching even without doing any exercise. It wasn't long after my visit to the orthopedic surgeon that my knees started to ache along with my shoulders. At times the pain was fairly intense, and I noticed that I was seeing swelling too. Some days the focus was intense knee pain, and some days my knees, shoulders, and elbows all ached at the same time. As I continued my independent research, I started looking for connections between immunotherapy treatment and arthritis. It didn't take long to find studies linking inflammatory arthritis to immunotherapy. I decided it was time to get a referral to rheumatology to explore ways to address my nearly constant joint pain. So now I have a rheumatologist as part of my treatment team. I wasn't looking for a magic cure for the pain, but wanted to find ways to manage it. I had x-rays taken of both knees to go along with the x-rays of my shoulders. The rheumatologist reviewed my imaging and did a physical exam. He also drew about 10 cc's of fluid off my swollen right knee. My rheumatologist appears to be really dialed in on inflammatory arthritis and the connection to immunotherapy treatment. He confirmed that I have early osteoarthritis in my shoulders and knees, with my right shoulder having the most advanced osteoarthritis. However, he also noted that early osteoarthritis is pretty common for someone my age and life experience. Over the past 6 months, we've worked to find ways to manage my inflammatory joint pain. The first step was a short blast of prednisone to see if it would do anything. Holy crap! Within a couple days of starting the taper, I found my pain gone and my full range of motion returning. I was quickly learning that things I might have chalked up to growing old and over-exercising were actually side effects of immunotherapy treatment. Initial use of prednisone confirmed that my pain was from inflammation. Although a great drug for short-term use, prednisone is not a viable long-term solution. During a follow-up visit with rheumatology, I learned that inflammatory syndrome triggered by immunotherapy treatment has things in common with both osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. It's an oversimplification to explain it this way, but immunotherapy treatment revved my immune system to fight the cancer. It worked really well to target melanoma, but also caused an inflammatory response. There's several variations of this, including generalized inflammatory syndrome, inflammatory arthritis, and polymyalgia rheumatica. Once we landed on a diagnosis of inflammatory syndrome caused by immunotherapy treatment, we could start working on ways to calm down my immune system and manage my joint pain. Inflammatory syndrome presents with symptoms like rheumatoid arthritis. The doctor suggested treatment with methotrexate because methotrexate is the first choice for managing symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis. It takes about 3 to 4 months in order to establish therapeutic levels of methotrexate, so we included a second tapering blast of prednisone to address the immediate effects of inflammatory syndrome. The idea was to have the prednisone taper down while the methotrexate had time to build up in my system. It's been about 6 months since I started weekly doses of methotrexate, and it did take time to establish therapeutic levels in my system. As we reach the end of November 2021, I'm happy to report that the past few weeks have brought significant improvement. I no longer hurt all the time, although I do have times when my knees and shoulders ache, but nothing like last spring. For the most part, I only have pain with activity and my range of motion is slowly returning. Going back to the topic of melanoma, this past week included another visit to the Mayo Clinic. I've seen several different doctors and physician assistants over the past 3 years. The most recent visit included meeting with my original Mayo oncologist. They confirmed that my latest scans show no sign of cancer, and I remain confident that melanoma is no longer a current health issue for me. My oncologist recommends quarterly follow-ups for 2 full years after completing treatments. So I'll continue to receive quarterly PET CT scans with Mayo with follow-up visits with Mayo Oncology for active monitoring in 2022. The next year will include active monitoring for the melanoma and continued work with rheumatology to address my inflammatory issues. Ideally, we'll try to taper down the methotrexate dosing with the hope of not needing it long term. So here we are, 3 years after finding my initial tumor and starting my cancer journey. I'm extremely grateful to all of the amazing healthcare providers on my team and the compassionate care I've received. I'm also appreciative of the support given me by my peers, the mayor and city council, and my Maple Grove and extended fire service family. So that's all for now. Thanks.